In 2011, I had a moment of just like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, I cannot stay in this place anymore. I had this idea inside of me. It was like knocking at me. Hey, Carrie, do something with this, do something with this. And I kept ignoring it because I was so afraid. A series of things happened that enabled me to break through and then achieve a goal after goal after goal after goal and make tens of millions in my business, which just blows my mind. Hello. I hope you have been having a wonderful day. So I know that obviously the people who listen to this podcast are here to build really successful online businesses. And so often we struggle and we face challenges and we feel like our businesses aren't actually flowing and they feel stagnant and we feel stuck and it's frustrating. And so often we want the strategy. Like, what is the strategy that's going to get me out of this? What are the marketing strategies? What are the visibility strategies? What's the funnel I should be building? And while all those things are obviously really important, I think there's something that is just so much more important than that we need to consider and factor in and think about. I think this thing actually, or these things are like way, way, way above any business strategy there is out there. And it is the energetics of being an entrepreneur, the invisible forces that contribute and almost cultivate our success. Like, there are invisible forces at play here. And so often we are not paying attention to them. But when we do start to pay attention to them and we start to fine tune them, it's insane what can happen. We magnetize ourselves. We magnetize our businesses. We get into the flow of things. We feel like things are actually beginning to flow. I don't feel like I'm pushing a rock up a mountain. I feel like it's flowing. It feels like it's going with more ease. It's not to say there's going to be not going to be effort, obviously. Effort is always required. But it just shifts everything. And so I want to unpack this. I want to talk about these invisible forces because they're at play in all of our lives all the time. And for me, when I started tuning more into these invisible forces, everything changed because for such a long time, I felt like I was stuck behind a glass wall, and the success, the money, the things I wanted felt like they were on the other side of the glass wall, and I couldn't figure out how to break through. Everything felt like heavy and challenging and overwhelming, and I stayed stuck in that place for such a long time. I mean, years and years, feeling like I was going in circles. And I was doing things like I would, buy domain names, set up a website and then do nothing, and buy another domain name and set up another website and do nothing. And then I would change ideas and I would start this business, I would start that business, I'd have that idea, I had that idea. And I was just all over the place and I just was never really progressing or breaking through, and it felt so frustrating. And then in 2011, I had a moment of just like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, I cannot stay in this place anymore. And a series of things happened that enabled me to break through and then achieve a goal after goal after goal after goal and make tens of millions in my business, which just blows my mind because I went from feeling stuck. And I ran out of money at one point. Like, I can't tell you the number of times I felt like quitting and giving in as well. It's crazy. But for me, when I look back, like, don't get me wrong, strategy was a part of it. Like, I'm not going to lie and say it wasn't. But I think for me, the biggest things were the invisible things. That was the big stuff that was getting in my way more than anything. So let me explain what I mean when I say invisible forces and energetics. So our intuition, our alignment, our boundaries, our self-belief, our determination, our energetic leaks, they are all they all play a part in our lives, in our businesses, in our success or lack of success all the time. And they're completely invisible. We can't see these things, but they play a huge part. So, for example, for me, when I was stuck going round in circles, feeling like everything was on the other side of a glass wall, one of the biggest invisible forces at play were my thoughts. And I was stuck saying this thought in this thought pattern that went like this: I don't know what to do. 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 And it was like every day hypnotizing myself with this phrase, I don't know what to do. So but like, even though it was just a thought in my head, the power of that, the invisible force of that was huge. And I stayed stuck for so long because of the thoughts I kept telling myself. And what happened was, because the thoughts I was thinking, then the energy that I was carrying around with myself, I felt like I was drained because I was just stuck in this low vibration energy of lack, of less than, of just struggle. So guess what? Everything just was a struggle. And I felt like I could never do anything because it was always like this lack of worthiness to do something, this lack of my inability to do this stuff. And it just really got in my way. And I'll tell you another time that this wreaked havoc on me. So in 2011, I did this. I was rereading Michael Gerber's book called The E-Myth Revisited. Such a good book. And he has this exercise in it where basically it's your funeral, and he's like, what would people be saying about the kind of life you lived, the kind of things you achieved, the kind of person you were? Or he says something similar to that. And I remember thinking, oh my, like, I need to figure this out, and I need to change who I am being. Invisible force, change who I am being. It's not a visible thing. But I realize my life is not going to change until I change, until I get into alignment with what I truly want, the truth of who I really am. And the truth of who I really am isn't, I don't know, isn't I am stuck. Like, that's not who I am. Like, that's just what I keep telling myself, and I keep showing up in that energy and that frequency, but that isn't really me. So it was working on like, well, who am I, and what do I actually want, and where do I actually want to go? And really shifting. So in 2011, I set off on this mission success challenge, and it was to see, one, how could I show up and just be helpful and be of service? But two, how could I condition myself for success? How could I really truly step into alignment with what I actually wanted, and in a way that felt really good? Because I kept fighting it. You know, like, our intuition nudges us all the time. And so often we are not listening to it, and we're not paying attention. So for me, for example, when I had this idea to build a platform to bring women together, it was back in 2008. And I wanted to do it there were so many reasons, but the main one was I felt really lonely and isolated building my first online business. But the amount of imposter syndrome I had around actually doing that idea was huge. So I bought a domain name, I started a website, and then did nothing. And then when I ignored the idea, I stopped focusing on it. But then it kept nudging at me. It was there. It was there, like, constantly nudging. And I remember getting to 2010, I had the worst heart palpitations at that point. And I just had so much, it was like this energy building up inside of me, like I was a kettle boiling and I was about to boil over, because I had all these ideas, this idea inside of me, and it was there, and it was like knocking at me. Hey Carrie, do something with this. And I kept ignoring it because I was so afraid. And the more I ignored it, the more it kept like smacking me in the face, and just kept coming up. And it was like I couldn't push it down. And I mean, I'm sure you have experienced this, where you've got ideas or things and they keep tapping you and you keep ignoring them, or you keep starting and stopping. And so for me, I just felt like it got to a point where I kind of crumbled. I remember crying on my bed, so upset that I felt so stuck and frustrated. I was so fed up with myself, to be honest. And then I obviously read that Michael Gerber thing, and then was like, right, I'm going to condition myself for success. I'm going to figure out, who do I need to be in order to actually achieve the things I want to achieve, live the life I want to live, create the success that I want to create. Who do I need to be, and how do I align with that? How do I step into that version of me? How do I get really aligned in that version of me? How do I create boundaries for myself so that I show up and do the things that I need to do, so that I am not stuck trying to do things to please other people. So for example, back then there were a lot of people that were like, Carrie, go and get a proper job. So you'll have people in your life we all do, that probably want the best for us, but their version of the best for us is based on what they think is right. That might not feel right for us, but so often we just take on what other people are telling us and we just say, yes, okay, I'll do it like this. And we compromise ourselves for other people. And it's like, well, actually, no, success is not about compromising ourselves. It's about being true to ourselves. Like, we have to be truthful to ourselves. So I think, again, like the boundaries and the self-belief and the determination and the resilience as well. I mean, huge, but they are all invisible forces. And for me, they were so crucial. And I remember now I was going to tell you something, the story. I got sidetracked. But while I set off on this mission success challenge to really condition myself for success, I started to put myself out there. I started to show up and see how I could help people. And I was building momentum. I could feel the energy. I felt like I was in alignment. I felt like things were flowing. The only problem was that nearly 2 years later, I had run out of money because I had so many money blocks. And I think this is another thing that we can be doing all the things, all the strategy, but then we can still be completely blocking ourselves from actually accessing a layer of success that we're trying to get to. So for me, I had so many money blocks that were getting in my way. I would think things like, who am I to create something to sell? I should have more qualifications. I don't even know how to do this. I feel confused. I feel overwhelmed. I just want to help people and I shouldn't charge to help people because that would be derailing my mission, and I just want to help as many people as possible, therefore I should do it for free. So those were the typical things that were running through my mind all the time. That is what I was thinking about. I mean, I'll give you an example of just how extreme this kind of was at times. I started a magazine in 2012 and it was an amazing digital magazine. I interviewed these amazing women, like they're super successful, best-selling authors like Gabrielle Bernstein and Lewis Howes was on the front cover, all these amazing people. And I decided that I was going to do the magazine for free because I wanted as many people as possible to read it. Just because it's free doesn't mean more people are going to read it, I will add. And then I thought, well, I could charge for people to advertise in the magazine. So I started to try and get people to advertise, but then I was like, you know what? So much of my focus and attention is going on getting people to advertise when really I should be focused on just making this as amazing as I possibly can. So I'm going to stop getting people to advertise in the magazine and I'm just going to focus on serving people. Like, that is the extent of which I would stop myself from trying to make money by convincing myself that no, I'm here to serve people, and me trying to make money from advertising is not focusing on my mission. It's derailing me. And so this ended up left me in a place where I completely ran out of money, and I was just like, oh, I either sink or swim here. I either figure this out and face this invisible force that's wreaking havoc, or I sink with the invisible force. And so I did. A friend of mine said to me, Carrie, the most powerful voice you can ever listen to is your own. And in that moment, I realized, what have I been telling myself? What is the story that's playing out in my head about why I can't earn money, around why making money feels like a disservice? It feels like a bad thing. It feels something icky and horrible. Like, what is that? And started to really look at that and then change the narrative in my head around money flows to me quickly and easily. It's easy for me to show up and be of service and make money. It's okay and it's safe for me to show up and be of service and make money. Making money is a really good thing. Making money is how I can show up and be of more service. And so once I started to change the script in my head and get into alignment and get into the flow with abundance, with financial abundance, with feeling like a good relationship, good feelings around financial abundance, crazy weird opportunities started to pop up. And I did 2 weeks after that, was very close after that moment of running out of money. I ended up doing this joint venture webinar with Amy Porterfield that generated me personally about $2,000 in an hour. And I was like, this is amazing. And then the next year I launched my membership, and then within a couple of years it had got to 5,000 members and was a 7-figure plus membership, which was insane. And so yes, there were strategies that were involved, but the biggest shifts were the shifts in me, the shifts in who I was becoming, shifts in my alignment, shifts in my vision of like the clarity in my vision and my alignment to my vision, alignment to the truth of who I am, alignment to the version of me that is the successful me. It was really working on my self-belief, on my confidence in myself, in backing myself to believe that I could actually get to the place I wanted to get to. Because I had to shift from feeling like having a lot of money felt like a joke and felt like embarrassing to owning it and being like, no, I'm here to be really wealthy. I'm here to be really successful and to have a lot of money. Like, it took me such a lot of effort, I suppose, to get myself into a place where I really believed that about me. And obviously the boundaries that came with that, the boundaries that I had to set myself so that I could step into that version of me and not have quite so many energy leaks. And also the determination and listening to my intuition and trusting my intuition. And I think that it's so important. And throughout my whole journey in business, like, my intuition has always nudged me. And I can tell you now, the times where I've struggled the most and I've felt like I've been trying to get blood out of a stone is when I have not been listening to my intuition, or I've been actively ignoring my intuition because listening to it would be hard. So I'll give you an example of like when listening to my intuition feels hard. There have been times when I have realized that what I was doing and what I had been doing successfully wasn't what I wanted to continue to do. It felt stale, stagnant. I knew I had evolved and changed, but it was like I was running the same old stuff as always. And I knew in myself that it was time to change, but change felt really scary because that's what I do. That's what I've always done. And facing up to that truth felt so challenging that it was easier to just keep going, even though my intuition was like, Carrie, it's time to change, it's trying to up level, it's trying to do something different. And I'll tell you as well, the times where I've been like, followed my intuition and my that gut instinct and just gone for it, like, wow, me and the team have made things happen fast. So for example, when we decided to do Create and Sell, our accelerator, for the first time, I think we pulled that together in a matter of weeks because the decision came in, I got the name, boom, it was done. I just followed it. And that is like pure alignment, pure like in the zone, you're flowing, it's going and it's done. Like, that is the most magical, magnetic place to be. I remember when we finished the first round of Create and Sell, so many women like had so many tech struggles. And I remember thinking, this is a nightmare for people. It's like getting their tech set up. And so researching opportunities and different things we could do to support, reaching out to different platforms, seeing if we could partner, and then discovering Go High Level and being like, wow, we can partner with Go High Level and we can create our own platform, our own templates. We can help women to set all this up ourselves. We can do this. And again, very, very quickly, within a matter of weeks, we'd done it. We'd launched it. It was out there and we built it. And I think that's when you trust your intuition and you trust that feeling inside of yourself. But when you go against that and you start to feel like, oh, I'm not sure, I'm panicking, and you step back, that's when you start to like, that invisible force starts to interfere in a negative way and just gets in the way and then slows it down. It's like chops off your ability to like be in flow. It's literally just in the way. And so for me, I think it's been, and for all of us, like, it's so important to listen to it. I'll tell you something else. I think this is the hardest place I've also found listening to my intuition is when it's come to team. And when you know that someone isn't right for a role and you know it's not going to work out, but having the courage to pay attention to that niggle, that knowing, that intuition that's telling you, this isn't working. Like, that's tough. And it might not be because of them. I mean, I've had situations where I've closed down whole parts of things. So, actually at the beginning of this year, there was 8 people on the team that ended up going, and which was such a difficult thing to do. And it happened with a lot of love and care. However, it was me acknowledging and being true to myself of knowing I can't do this anymore. like, I don't want to run this part of the business anymore. It doesn't feel good to me. It's not in integrity with me. It's not in alignment with me. And I have to trust that. And trusting that meant saying goodbye to a lot of people who were very skilled and very talented, but I just knew I couldn't do it. And so I had to make that decision. And that felt like a really difficult decision to make. And there's been so many times in the past where I've ignored those little niggles and then created an absolutely awful situation that's been 50 million times harder the longer I ignored it, not just for me, but for the other person or the other people involved too, which is just even more heartbreaking. So I think really paying attention and listening to what's true for ourselves and what's coming up is just so vital, so important. And I like, more than anything, and again, this is where I think our intuition and listening and trusting ourselves comes in, because a lot of us work with other people, like other coaches. The number of times I have worked with women in one of my programs and they've said, oh, I'm working with a coach. My coach told me to do X, Y, and Z, but I don't like that idea. It doesn't feel good to me. And I told them it doesn't feel good to me, but they told me that I had to do it that way anyway. Like, it makes me so angry because I'm like, what on earth? Like, no one, you have to trust you. No one knows better than you. Okay, yeah, there might be someone who's like a real big expert who can come in and share knowledge, but at the end of the day, like, it has to feel right for you. It has to feel good for you. And sometimes we look at people who are perhaps more expert than us or further ahead than us, and we think that they know what's right for us. And maybe in some ways they could help, but in a lot of ways, we still are the expert of ourselves, of us, and we have to trust ourselves. It's the same as, like, you know, when you go to the doctors and we put them in a position of authority, and so often we ignore the niggles that we're feeling on the inside in what we feel is true, because we listen to someone else say, oh no, you're fine, it's fine, you don't need to worry about that, and you get brushed off, and then you actually are like, no, hang on a sec, there is something going on here. And like, we have to be willing to put our foot down and to trust ourselves. It goes in every area of life, but especially in business, in business, to help you to get to the level of success that you want, it's just so, so important. And the other thing that I found is that when I ignore that knowing, that intuition, and I struggle and my boundaries break down and I start to become a people pleaser, like potentially on the team, I start to say yes to things that I know energetically drain me. I try and like over deliver on things. That is when I have burnt out and really struggled. And when I've been in that place, it's a horrible place to be in, when you feel like you've got nothing left to give. You've got nothing left in you because there are so many energy leaks. You're giving away so much of yourself and you've just got nothing left. And that's when it's gone too far and you're just like, okay, should have just stopped and paid more attention and tuned in with myself and how I'm feeling. I'm so out of alignment. I'm not paying attention and listening to what I really truly feel inside. I'm going along with what everyone else is saying. I'm trying to make everyone else feel happy, but not I'm putting myself absolutely last, and I'm squished myself into a corner, and now I feel totally trapped and suffocated, and I'm about to break down. And I think this happens to so many women, or so many people, but as women in particular, because I think that we're always trying to do what's best for other people, and we're trying to nurture and serve and help other people, but often it's at the detriment of ourselves. So it's like, actually, how can you keep firm boundaries for yourself? And it's looking at like, well, where are your energetic leaks? What makes you feel super drained? And how can you go about handling those things differently? Or what processes or what support can you put in place so that you are not like letting this like energy leak out of you on a day-to-day basis, so that you protect your energy? What is it going to take to protect your energy? What do you need to do? What do you need to do for yourself? For some people, it's going for a walk. For some people, it's reading a book. For some people, it's meditating or journaling. Or for some people, it's just saying strong and true in their conviction and saying no. But figuring out what it is for you so that you feel empowered to stand in your truth and hold firm on the things that you believe in, and hold firm in your boundaries, your non-negotiables. And actually, I think that's a really good shift, going from a boundary to a non-negotiable. Because for me, when I set my non-negotiables, then that's it. Energetically, it's a non-negotiable. And then once you've created them, it's easy to turn around to someone and say, no, sorry, I don't do this because this is my non-negotiable. But it's also easier for you to stay true to it because it feels energetically so much more powerful than the boundary. No, this is my non-negotiable. So I literally sat down and decided on what my non-negotiables were going to be. So decide, what do you want your non-negotiables to be? And I also think it's so important for us to make space. This is where I've also struggled, is where I haven't had the space to pay attention and to listen to that little voice that's whispering to me. And I've just been ignoring because I'm just like going and going and going and going. But actually, when you create that space to like listen in and tune in, what is it saying? And then you take it seriously and you trust it with every ounce of your being. And you, even though you're not sure where it's leading you, even though you're thinking, trust it, follow it, and let yourself be guided by it, because that is ultimately you. And I think we can guide ourselves the best. So I find for me, like, if I don't create that space intentionally, that space doesn't exist, especially with adding kids into the mix. Like, life is so busy and so full and so chaotic. Like, I have to be so intentional about it, so that I can, listen, tune in. What's coming up for me? What feels good right now? What doesn't feel good right now? What do I need to shift? What do I need to do differently? And paying attention and listening. So rounding up, I think there are 4 really key energetic truths that I think when we lean into these things, it's so powerful. The first energetic truth that I wholeheartedly believe in is that success is a frequency that we can all tune into. I really believe in this. I really believe in the power of our energy, the power of the way we feel, what we attract and what we're putting out there, the power of our thoughts, the power of our words, the power of our, like, literally our energy it can be magnetic or it can repel people. And I think the same goes for success. I think that when we are stuck in a place where we are doubting ourselves, where we feel so much lack, there's so much scarcity, I think that we are not on the same frequency of success. So I believe that we really have to tune ourselves to the frequency of success. And for me, I have done that by honestly really, really connecting with my imagination and my feelings and imagining and experiencing things that I want to experience before they've actually happened, and feeling them in every cell of my body and knowing that it's a done deal, and feeling the feelings before those things have happened and allowing myself to stand in that state even though I might not have those things. I think the other thing that helps get me into the success frequency is really being grateful for what I have. Like, it's such a powerful thing, gratitude. And so often it's like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm so far from where I want to be, that we create this real massive void, this massive gap. But actually, when we're like, just look around and just have so much gratitude and love for everything, like, our energy completely changes. Like, we're so much lighter. And I think from that place, we spot opportunities. We spot things that are also really true. I mean, this is scientific, so it's not, I don't think it's something I don't know if you can really disagree with it, but the power of our thoughts and the way we think, literally, the way our brain is wired because of the thought patterns, it literally helps us to spot opportunities. For example, your brain will, like, if you tell your brain something, if you're saying something on repeat to yourself, your brain will spot opportunities to make that the truth for you. Well, I'll give you an example, a Carrie example. When I had those money blocks and then I started doing those visualizations and I was saying things to myself around like welcoming money, and I felt like that connection with money and welcoming it in, then so many random opportunities came up that I spotted that were just so bizarre. Like, it happened so fast, going from feeling stuck and running out of money to hosting that workshop a few weeks later with Amy Porterfield. I mean, it came out of nowhere. And crazy stuff like that begins to happen. And I think it's because your brain starts to spot things that perhaps it just wasn't paying attention to or wasn't spotting before. So I think that it's just so powerful. So I think all of us have to tune in to that success frequency, for whatever success means for you, by the way. But like, tune into it. How do you want to feel? Like, decide how you want to feel. Tune into those feelings. What do you need to do on a daily basis to welcome in those feelings that you want to feel? Like, When I was a teenager, I created a goal folder, and in the back of the goal folder was a bottle of perfume of how I wanted my life to smell when I was successful. And I would smell that perfume and I would just feel the waves of success. I would look at the things I'd put in that goal folder and I would just feel it like I was looking at a photo album of something I already had. So you can do these things to welcome that feeling of success in, so that you are on that frequency of the things that you want. It's just insanely powerful. So decide, like, if you decide that for you, a part of success is peace, let's say, then what brings you peace? And how are you going to create that feeling of peace every day for yourself? And maybe it is as simple as waking up in the morning and doing a meditation, or going for a walk, or listening to a song that makes you feel peaceful, or reading a book. But you could do more of those things that bring you peace and look at, like, what could it take to bring that peace in? And the more you focus on peace, guess what? The more peaceful you are likely to feel, because you're being so intentional about welcoming it in and bringing it into your life. So number one, really tune yourself to the success frequency for the things that you want, the way you want to feel, what you want to bring into your life. The second energetic truth is really around alignment. When we are aligned truly deeply with ourselves, with our vision, with what we want, I think we're just lit up. And when we are lit up, we become huge magnets. Like, we become the magnets for bringing in, attracting what we want. We get into a flow state where, yes, we're putting in effort and we're working, we're doing, like, at the beginning of when I started the Female Entrepreneur Association, I worked like a crazy person. I was working all the time. It never felt like work. It felt like fun. And there was moments where I was hard, don't get me wrong, but like, I was loving it. And I was so aligned with what I was doing. I was so fired up. And that energy is so contagious. When we truly are in alignment, it's powerful. And I tell you, when we're out of alignment, it is obvious. Have you ever done a launch or witnessed someone do a launch where they're out of alignment with it? They're just meh. They're not in it. They're not energetically. Don't seem like connected with it. Like, it never works. I have done launches when I've been out of alignment and they have been flops. Let me tell you, like, in myself, I would be doing the workshops being like, oh, I get off them and be like, oh, that just wasn't good. It didn't feel good. And I just was out of alignment with it. And so I think that alignment is so key. And I think the way to get aligned is to give ourselves the space to figure out, what does that mean for us? What is that? I mean, I think that a huge part of that is listening to our intuition and what's coming up for us, and giving ourselves space to create that vision and trust that vision and go all in on that vision. So powerful. I think the third big energetic truth is around boundaries, because we can give so much of ourselves away. We can compromise ourselves so much, and it creates so many energy leaks, and those energy leaks lead to burnout and lead to us feeling drained. And from that place, we are then not really in alignment, and we're showing up with a really low energy, and we've dimmed our light. We are not magnetic. We're not really attracting people. And it feels a bit just like, this isn't really going anywhere. I'm doing all this stuff, but I just feel like I'm not really getting any results, and it just feels exhausting and it feels heavy. And so often that comes when we've got just so many energy leaks happening. So really think around, what are your boundaries, or rather non-negotiables? And, if you are a people pleaser, and I don't know, maybe all of us are people pleasers. I mean, I know I'm a people pleaser, and I think it takes a lot of effort and intention to not be, but then we have to protect ourselves. We have to guard our energy. We can't just people please. Like, that is not how we're going to create success in our lives, and also not how we're going to feel the way we want to feel. So really looking at what those energetic leaks are for you. What are your boundaries? What are your non-negotiables? And how can you firm up on them so that you can create the level of success that you want? And I think the fourth key energetic truth is that ultimately your energy is your strategy. Like, plain, just simple. Your energy, the way you show up, the tone you show up with, the presence you show up with, that is making you into this huge magnet, and you're either repelling people or you're bringing people in. And when you show up as the true you and you're so aligned with the truth of who you are, and you're in this really powerful energy of like, I'm here to make this happen. Like, I am here. And you really feel it in every cell of your being that you are here to like do something amazing. I promise you can move mountains. You can make amazing things happen. I remember when I started the Female Entrepreneur Association, obviously prior to that, feeling stuck, going around in circles. But the moment I did it, it's like I had this whole body energetic shift. And it's like every part of me like up leveled and changed. Like it was like all the cells inside of me were vibrating at a different frequency. Like I can't even explain it. It's so bizarre. But like I became a new person, a different person. My energy had completely changed, completely. And I think that when we can really work on our energy, and if your energy is low, then I think it's like, why and what is going on? And then what are those energy leaks and why is this happening? And is it because you are completely out of alignment? And what truth do you need to acknowledge and step into? And looking at all these things so that you really align all these invisible forces so that you can really use them to your advantage to help propel you forward. Because I'm telling you, like, you know this already. These invisible forces are at play in all of our lives, every single moment of every single day. And they're either working for us or they're working against us. And so you have to choose what you want. I mean, I know you're going to choose you want them to work for you. Well, if you want them to work for you, then you really have to acknowledge them and work on them. And when you do, life changes like completely. You know, even for example, from a nervous system level, I'm not going to get all into that, but like the nervous system is destroyed when we are ignoring this stuff. And I know firsthand because I've had the impact of it first. Like I know what it's like to have my nervous system's been a wreck when I've just been ignoring this stuff. Like it's so important. We are energetic beings. We are made of energy, and our thoughts, our ideas, it's all energy. Yet so often we don't really acknowledge that, and we want all the business strategy, and the business strategy is great, but the business strategy does not work if our energy isn't working right, if we are not aligned. And so shift into that frequency, the energetic, entrepreneur, like that energy, that entrepreneur energy, and decide what you're going to make happen and work on this stuff. Because I promise you, if you work on this stuff, it's going to change everything. So anyway, I hope that this has inspired you and helped you to, well, given you a few little things to think about and maybe a few different things to go off and work on, and just so that you can really bring out the magic in yourself, because you are the magic. Your energy is magic. Your energy is magnetic. And so truly step into that and just make it big and amazing. So yeah, come and message me on Instagram at I am Carrie Green. Let me know your favorite part from this episode. Tag me in a post so I can reshare it. I would love to. Also, if you love listening to this podcast and you're not a subscriber, then go subscribe wherever you're watching, whether it's YouTube or whether it's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And also, if you could take a moment to leave me a review over on Apple Podcasts, I would love it so much because it helps the podcast get up the charts and more people find it. But yes, I really hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I can't wait to see you next time on another episode of the She Means Business Show.